Hey, this is Scene Detail. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my predictions for Resurrection Fighting Alliance 4, which is going to happen on November 2nd on AXS TV. I'm just going to do the main card. AXS TV used to be HDNet, and Resurrection Fighting Alliance pretty recently bought out Titan Fighting Championship, and now has a deal with AXS TV that Titan used to have. Card overall is actually one of the better cards from a regional promotion. You got a lot of former UFC fighters and veterans, and a lot of prospects. Sergio Pettis, Lance Palmer, to name a few. So, good card overall. So, let's get started. Okay, in the main event, we have Efrain Escudero versus Tyson Griffin. Fighting at 155 pounds. Both of these fighters are really trying to get back on the ranks, as Escudero is on a 2-fight losing streak, losing to Volkman and Danzig. Whereas, with Tyson Griffin, he's only won one of his last 5 bouts. That one bout was against Manny Gambarian. He got knocked out by Bartemis in his last bout. And not too long before that, he got knocked out by Gomi. Not to say he has a bad chin or anything, but, It sucks with Tyson Griffin because he was a really hot prospect at one time. I remember, he was getting a win streak going, then he fights Sean Shurik, and he loses, but still looks good. And everyone's like, okay, hey, this guy's headed to greatness. And then, I don't know what happened. He just kind of fell off. I mean, he got robbed against Nick Lentz, of course. But for the most part, the guy just kind of went downhill. He's not that old, too. He's only 28. Escudero's, I don't want to say he's similar, but in a sense, he's a guy I personally thought had a lot of promise. Especially after he beat Cole Miller. I think after that he fought Evan Dunham. Both these guys lost to Dunham. And, I remember in the first round he did really well, and then he gets armbarred in the second. It's hard. This fight's kind of hard for me to say. I'm actually gonna go with Tyson Griffin here, and it's because of X factors. Really, it's not because of being a superior to stand up or wrestling or anything like that. One thing about Escudero, he has an 18-5 record with 1 TKO and 12 subs. He's only 26 and trains at the MMA lab with Benson Henderson. His stand-up's solid enough. It's good enough. He probably shouldn't have stood with Danzig as much as he did. His wrestling's solid, actually. I remember when he beat Nover, he primarily used wrestling, but his wrestling and ground game's good. His problem really is, one, it's motivation issues. There's, I don't know how seriously he's taking MMA these days. He's seen, especially in the Danzig fight, I mean, the guy just seems to coast. He just kind of looked like he wanted a paycheck. And skill-wise, I've always been high on him, too. So it's kind of sad, actually, because I remember, he beat Nover, and I think he really turned some heads when he knocked out Cole Miller, but he hasn't been able to keep that up, and his fight IQ is really questionable. I mentioned the Danzig fight. He probably should have wrestled with Danzig. Okay, instead he opted to stand with him a lot. Against Volkman, he did all these he tried a lot of guillotine attempts on the guy. It's just one of those things where it's his fight IQ and his overall motivation are in question. Tyson Griffin, 15-6 record with 6 wins by KO or TKO and 3 wins by sub. He of course has those 2 losses by KO. Trains at Extreme Couture. He's always had good wrestling and good cardio. His kickboxing is He's always been pretty. He got it to a good range where it was solid. He uses combinations. He has some pretty good kicks, and he's really good into scramble, too. I'm gonna go with Tyson Griffin to win this one. I don't know. I just don't know, like, which Efrain Escudero is gonna show up. Really, to be perfectly honest with you, skill-wise, if both these guys are like really up there though, were at their peak. I'd probably pick Tyson's peak was probably a little higher than Escudero's peak. But like I said, Escudero, he's still only 26. Tyson Griffin's 28. It's kind of sad that these guys who are really coming up in the UFC and doing well against some pretty high level competition, even in losses. Escudero against Dunham, Griffin against who did I say? Like Sean Shirk. It's just kind of tough to see. Yeah, it kind of sucks to see that these guys are now in Resurrection fighting Lions, but it is what it is. That's how the game works. But I gotta go with Tyson Griffin to win this one. Okay, next fight after that, we have Chidi Bang Bang. Chidi Njokuani versus Dace. I saw one fight with Dace, so I'm not gonna have the best perspective on the guy. I saw him fight Jeff Nader. With Dace, he has an 8-2 record. 5 of those wins are by KO or TKO and 1 win by sub. He's 27 on a 5-fight win streak and trains at Team Tompkins. What I saw in that fight, he showed some pretty solid stand-up and a good jab. He actually won on the ground, and his ground game actually didn't look too bad. Njokuani, 8-3 record, 6 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. He's only 23 and he's on a 3-fight win streak. The guy's 6'3", tall and lanky, and he's very similar to his brother in that he has just solid kickboxing and some pretty heavy hands, In his last fight I saw on, I think it's like XFC or one of those, or Legacy, I forgot. I think he won with like a knee. Either knee to the face or knee to the body. It's pretty vicious. It's good knees and good kicks. With his length too, he has some pretty solid stand-up. Still young, so I am gonna go with Chidi and Njokuani to win this one. Okay, next fight after that we have Marcio Pano Cruz versus Yager. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any fights with Yager. All I know is he's 5-0, undefeated. He has a 1-win submission win, 1 submission win by strikes, and the rest of his wins are by decision. Pano, he only has a 7-3 record, but it feels like he's been there forever. He's been around the fight game for a long time. 2 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. He's 34, very experienced. He does, he's fought guys like Frank Mir, Arlovsky, Monson, when Monson was still like a higher level fighter. He's got some pretty good, he's got good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, decent striking. Unfortunately, I just don't know anything about Yager, so I'll go with Pano to win this one. Okay, next fight after that, we have Fredson Paixao versus Lance Palmer. Should be a really interesting fight just because with Paixao, 10-4 record, 1 win by TKO, 5 wins by sub. But he does have some very strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He hasn't fought in a while. He's coming off a pretty long layoff. I actually wrote it down long. I want to even go so far as to say December 2010. So it's definitely been a while since he's fought. Lance Palmer, 4-0 undefeated record, 2 wins by sub, 2 wins by decision, 24 years old. He's trained at Team Alpha Male, and of course his wrestling pedigree is great. It's very strong wrestling. He's working on the rest of his game as well. It does get interesting if this fight hits the ground, Paixao Paixao's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game versus Palmer's wrestling. I think with I think the layoff hurts Paixao. So I'm gonna go with Lance Palmer to win this one. Okay, next out of that we have James Krause versus Guilherme Trindade. Okay, I was actually, before I actually did this, I was watching two fights from Trindade. He fought this guy named Gene Dos Santos, and I forgot the other guy's name. Fun fighter to watch. But, man, this guy is just wild and reckless. He showed some really good knees and some overall heavy hands. Knocked out both those guys. And actually, he's never been past the second round. He's an 8-0 undefeated record. 6 wins by KO TKO, 2 wins by sub. He's only 25 years old. Against Dos Santos, he's put on his back twice. He didn't look great off his back, to be perfectly honest. He was actually put in a pretty bad position at one point. He almost got arm triangled, almost got his back taken. With Krause, 16-4 record, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 11 wins by sub. 26 on a 4-fight win streak. He's always had some strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Unless, even with Trindade, when I saw stand-up, he has some pretty, that's his main game. It's wild to the point, the guy's defense really isn't that good. He does take shots. He has a really good chin, but he does take shots pretty clean. Krause is smart. You have 11 submission wins. I hope he doesn't stand too long with Trindade. Take him down. Try and go for the submission. I'm going to go James Krause to win this one. Just from what I saw from Trindade, he's too wild, too reckless. It's not like he had stellar takedown defense or anything. He lunges a lot, especially with those straight right. He'll do the straight right lunge, and he just off balance a lot of times. I'm just kind of hoping Krause will fight smart, take the fight to the ground, and win that way on the ground. Okay, next right after that, we have Derrick Brunson versus Dakota Cochrane. Interesting fight, or Burnside. Why did I say Brunson? Because I'm thinking Derrick Brunson, but it's Derrick Burnside. Another Team Alpha Male guy in Burnside. He has a 10-2 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 7 wins by sub. It's definitely a finisher. 32 years old and a 3-fight win streak. His only losses are to Masaranduba and Bobby Stack back in a Strikeforce event. I think he lost a split decision there. I only got to see one fight of his too. He looked alright. He kind of had that alpha male kind of aggressive thing going on. Decent striking, relentless wrestling. Works all the time, always working. With Cochrane, 12-3 record, 1 win by KO, 6 wins by sub. 26 years old. One thing about Cochrane that's he won his last fight against Joe Daddy Stevenson, but before that. He was doing really well. I forgot who the opponent was. But it's kind of story to Cochrane because he kind of does have some questionable cardio. He was winning the first round, the second round, I think he got rear naked choked. He just gassed out. Despite that, I only got to see one fight of Burnside. I do like his credentials, though. Only Masaranduba, good fighter, UFC qualified fighter, and Bobby Stack. That's it. Trains at alpha male, and he is a finisher. Cochrane, solid fighter, good stand-up, good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. Didn't make it into the Ultimate Fighter house. Has a notable win over Jamie Varner, actually. I think he won. One thing that really helped in that fight against Varner was the push kick, which I really like seeing from him. So I'll go with Dakota Cochrane to win this one. And finally, we have Jimmy Jones versus Sergio Pettis. Jones he has a 4-1 record, 2 wins by KO TKO, 1 win by sub, and he trains at Extreme Couture. With Sergio Pettis, 5-0 undefeated record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub, and he's only 19. Trains at Rufus Sports. He has some strong, very similar to his brother Anthony Pettis. You know, solid stand-up, good kicks, good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You know, especially for his age. Sky's the limit for Sergio Pettis. Gonna go with him for the victory here. Okay, and that's pretty much it for my Resurrection Fighting Alliance 4 predictions. If you have any comments, just leave them below. That's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.